In that press conference in the Big Ten Media Day, I mean, Bill, a colleague of yours asked point blank to Urban Meyer if his relationship with Earl Bruce and the Bruce family had anything to do with the way he was viewing Zach Smith on his coaching staff. And I'm wondering if you could lend any thoughts and perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it absolutely did. I'm sure on some level, whatever Urban knew, there's another layer to this relationship that goes beyond employer and employee. Urban's greatest mentor in coaching is Earl Bruce. Urban, I don't think, has ever made a move in his career without consulting Earl Bruce. Earl was always around the program until he passed away a few months ago. It's a very important person in Urban's life, probably second only to Urban's father in terms of the influence that he's had on Urban. And you're talking about that guy's grandson. So I think Urban certainly felt indebted to Earl to I don't know if protect is the right word, but to make sure things are done right by his family. And it's possible that clouded his judgment. He did admit that the relationship does extend to that area, but he also said that Zach Smith was hired because, one, he's a good coach. He played as a walk-on for Urban at Bowling Green. So maybe Urban would disagree with that, but I think it's pretty obvious that the relationship is a little different than the typical head coach assistant coach.
So then let me ask you this, Bill, because again, I came across Urban's path a handful of times at the draft. We had a little bit of fun where he was putting me a little bit on ice because he knows I'm a Michigan grad, and then we actually worked together on the air. And in the interim, all my colleagues who knew him at ESPN were like, he's a warm guy, he's a good guy, like you would actually like him. And I'm like, I'd love to meet him. And then I worked with him on that one Friday night in Chicago when Ohio State broke the record for most players drafted in the first 3 rounds of a draft. And he was a brilliant, and he was happy, and he hands me his number saying, call the show whenever you want. And then he came on the show, Michigan Ohio State week, and so I've got a chance to see who he is and what. Is it believable, though? Is it believable, based on you knowing him and everybody who knows him, that he would somehow hear this from his wife and protect Zach Smith because he doesn't want to hurt Earl Bruce? And this is now blowing up in his face right now, because that is essentially what is the storyline that is being implied by all the reporting that's out there right now, Bill.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to say this as a way of sounding accusatory, but I do think that there's been plenty of evidence over the years sort of about the depths people will stoop to protect college athletics, their football program, their personnel, their family, their friends. I would agree with you. My interactions with Urban have always been pleasant, and it's different probably for me than it was for you. I ask him questions, he gives answers, but he's always answered my questions. I've never had any sort of bad interaction with him, but I think you can still have lapses in judgment, even if you come off as generally a good person and a well-rounded person. I think everyone is prone to lapses in judgment. So if that's what happened here, I wouldn't be surprised by that. And we've seen other places the things that people do sometimes to protect, big-time college sports.
And then the last one for you then, Bill, the ultimate. If this is found out to be that Urban, because, let's just get with the gray area, that they somehow still don't determine whether Urban knew expressly, although it's not terribly believable that he didn't. Is that something that they would want to part ways with Urban Meyer over in Columbus, do you think, Bill?
Yeah, well, I think that there are 3 end results here. 1, he stays as the head coach. 2, they outright fire him. 3, they come to some sort of financial agreement and sort of walk away from it. And I'm inclined to lean toward one of the 2 that ends with him not being the coach. I don't know if he'll get outright fired. I think that the language in his contract is still a little murky, and I'm not a Title IX expert. It looks to me like he possibly could have violated his contract, but I don't know that for a fact. But I think that murkiness combined with the PR hit that comes with this, how difficult it'll be to run the program moving forward if he does come back, even if he's found to have not done anything wrong. It just seems to me like it'd be really difficult to move forward with business as usual. So I'm inclined to say that I don't think he'll be the head coach in whichever form that takes.
Wow. Okay. Jeez. So you think Urban Meyer has coached his last down at Ohio State, Bill?
I do. Like, and I'm not saying I think this should be the case. It's
I
just
understand.
my hunch at the moment. I think yes.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.